Everyone, welcome to the franchise segment of the Unfocused Show. I'm your host, Paul Tran. In my Web 2 life, I consult restaurant chains on franchising around the world, and I wanted to answer today's question: how do you sell franchises when your fees are higher than the bigger, more established competition? I'm consulting for a restaurant chain right now that's just starting to franchise. They have a handful of stores, and their average unit volumes are pretty impressive. They do about $1.5 to $2 million a year. Out of a 1,500 square foot spot. And in the restaurant and retail business, if you're able to do about $1,000 a square foot a year, that's considered a unicorn. Even though their stores are doing great and they're profitable as a restaurant company, they were hitting a brick wall when it comes to franchise sales. And they're having trouble just getting people more interested and to go down the sales process a little bit more. And their objections were really similar. It's, $40,000, your franchise fees are too high, or you're a new brand. Why would I take a risk with higher fees when I can just buy an established brand like Subway for $15,000? It feels and it seems safer. And this is where perspective, market knowledge, and really good salesmanship come into play. I offered to jump on a few prospect calls, and this is how I framed the response. John, Sally, whatever the prospect's name is, the franchise fees itself are a little bit higher, but that's just one small cost in the whole bigger picture. Just like you wouldn't buy a car at MSRP and totally dismiss the gas, the maintenance, the insurance, and all other costs that go into it. So even though Subway is only $15,000, there's a couple things that limit you. And number one, the average unit volume is only about $400,000 a year. It's a very mature brand, which feels safe, but that means that there's not a lot of explosive growth potential like a newer brand would. And number three, there's one in almost every shopping center in your neighborhood. So that either cannibalizes your current sales, and it also prevents you from opening more stores and building a multi-unit restaurant chain, which is where the true wealth and which is where the true risk minimization happens. Our brand, on the other hand, it costs the same to build as a Subway, but they do about $1.5 to $2 million in sales. That's like 4 times what an average Subway can do. The next thing is you have the opportunity to attract more people wanting to try something new. The bright, shiny object syndrome works in your favor. And then the other thing is you don't have a lot of direct competition like Subway does, so you have less fighting for the pie than other brands. And finally, we're just starting to grow, so it's just like buying Google early on versus buying Google now. Buying Google now means it feels safe, but there's not a lot of explosive growth. It's really expensive, and you just don't have a lot of territory to continue building more stores. So with that logic, I gladly pay $25,000. I'd rather invest $25,000 more to be able to access and unlock $1 million more in sales per year. So it's about how you frame it. And keep in mind that you'll need to adjust your pitch according to what you disclose in the FDD. Even then, even if you can't show your financials, you can still paint a picture where the franchisee can open more stores, there's less competition, you still have early growth in your favor as a tailwind. You can also count countless parallels too. Like, for example, you don't just look at interest rates to determine what the best mortgage is for you. You don't count the hospital bill as the only cost that it takes to raise a child. And I also recommend you learn a little bit more about the prospect so that you can use examples that they can relate to and they get it. So that's all about building relationships and rapport. So it's all about perspective and anticipating objections. And I hope this helps. If you have any other questions, please leave it in the comments. And again, I would love to create more content like this. So if you found it helpful, please subscribe and share this with others as well. And I hope to see you guys on the next episode. Take care.